bad one, but we can start from there. It is, what did the dad flower say after he told a joke? I was just pulling your leg. So, yes, everybody's laughing very hard. All right, we'll wait another minute here. Lots to cover today. All right, 30 seconds. I apologize in advance. Cough. I'm a recovering COVID addict. So, we'll start off here. Topics to cover today: bumblebee shipping updates, Explorer fixes and improvements, eSIM replacements, Honeybee iOS app, anti-gaming, new radios that we're going to support, cost reduction on flowers, range and speed test, continuity bonus, and then announcements. I'll just start with the announcements real quick. So we have received our PLMN ID. We are the proud designated network now by the IMSI admin folks as 314280. Took a while to get, but we're very excited about that. That puts us as a legit bona fide carrier. The other one is we also got accepted to the GSMA, which is the administration for all the GSM folks. They set the standards like 3GPP, and we are now a bona fide member as a carrier there. So we're very excited about that. All right, we'll jump in from the top. Bumblebee shippings. There's 200 ready to go. We got 35 out Friday, so that was a little bit of a slip back. We have 175 boxing. I guess it was 210 ready to go. We have 175 being boxed out, hopefully shipping today, but we're promising them by. So 50 went out today, sorry. And then the total remaining will come out tomorrow or latest Wednesday. Jump in with any questions at any time, of course. All right, next up is Explorer. We now have a faster and better Explorer on track. We think we're releasing that Wednesday. Thank you for your patience. It's looking snappy. And as part of that, we also have an API for everybody to use. Excuse me, and we'll have devices, hexes, and reward data available. We're going to pilot it with a few users that were very eager and we spoke with earlier. So they will be trying it out. And once we have their feedback and fixes in, then we will release to everyone. This will be a read-only API with but public facing, so anybody can hit it. If Shree's on, he can add more. Yeah, there you go. If you want to come up and talk more about that, there you go.
Yeah, so the API right now, it provides access to individual information about each device, and it'll also provide access to individual information about each hex, information about all the rewards. So the entire ledger will be available as an API call. And we plan on making it available as soon as the beta testers are done kind of giving us feedback. The new Explorer will be running off of this API as well. So we expect that to really greatly improve our performance. And also it should enable us to start doing community-based apps, which I think a lot of people were excited about. Really being able to dig deep into the data, develop your own visualizations, develop your own tooling, and hopefully that'll help the community grow and make things more transparent for everyone as well. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions on the API or on the new Explorer, feel free to ask away. Yeah, that's about it. Cool. Looks like no questions, so I guess we'll move on.
Awesome. Next up, eSIM replacement issues. Thank you to Qt or Acuity. You gotta let us know how to properly say that for pushing it out. We know that it's a pain in the butts to swap the eSIMs manually. We're working on a way to get that automated. That hasn't been our focus. The focus has been getting the How to Be iOS app going out there. The process is totally manual now. We've found the reason why some people are having issues. Um, there's an incorrect uninstall procedure happening for some of you that are having problems, especially the ones that are having 20 plus per phone seem to be tricking us up. So we're working on a better diagnostic portal so you can see where your SIM is being uninstalled. As you pull it off, if you don't pull it off correctly, it doesn't deregister with our SMTP Plus server, and therefore you don't have an actual disconnection, which means you can't reinstall it. And then that means we have to recreate one, and it's a big mess. So happy to talk more about that, but that's an issue. Related to that is we don't think, and Oscar can chime in on this, we don't think that you should be having 20 eSIMs on a phone, right? The idea is to have one. So we want to make sure that people know that's not the proper use case for that. And then in the Honeybee app, we're going to be associating the eSIM and the phone with one, so that we prevent rewards from folks that are using one phone but just switching the SIM out over time, because that's not, you don't want to have one person pretending to be 10 people. You want to talk about that? Yeah.
The difficulty there is not on our side, is that the eSIM providers basically manage that deactivation and activation of the SIM. So if they get caught up in a bad state, we have to go through them to do the recycling. So we're trying to build out a system that we can recycle ourselves, but that will take some time and some partnerships to be developed. It's not as easy as just writing some code to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. The other thing we'll do is we have physical SIMs, which will be a lot easier and cleaner for that. We've used our new physical SIMs in our latest Bumblebee build-up, and they seem to be pretty good. As part of the new, I think we mentioned this last time, but as part of the new PLMN ID that we have, we will need early foundation Founders Edition Bumblebees to get a new SIM and swap it into their Bumblebee, but we have time to before that happens. That's 3. For Honeybee iOS app, we got iOS approval from our dear friends at Apple, and so we'll be able to launch that app for everyone soon. We're ramping up a SIM batch in parallel for doing that. Again, heads up on, don't try to put multiple SIMs per phone. And we discourage you from doing the gaming. We have some things that we think we can detect the gaming happening, and so if that does happen, we'll push that. We'll talk about anti-gaming in a second. So iOS app is out, is coming on the main store, which means no more need for test flight invites and codes, so forth. You'll still need a NFT unlock code, and we're adding a bunch of new features there, including we'll have a map which will help you guide to where you're going, and then hopefully we'll be doing the Pollen game will come up soon, which would be really fun. Which is going to be a map-based related thing. Yeah, we highly recommend not putting 20 plus sims on your phone. Anti-gaming. We have our dedicated person looking at logs every day and labeling them as suspect or normal behavior. That's going to be used for two things. One is we're going to share those with the cheating channel, which hopefully should be coming to a committee, which can then evaluate and then decide what to do with individuals doing that. And then it's also being used for ML automation purposes, so we can detect cheating happening live and be able to address that. Do you want to talk about any of that stuff? That's good.
Cheating.
No good? Okay.
No.
All right, ripping through here. Next up, new radios. We're really excited for the coverage we've been able to get so far with our friends from ByCells. There's a couple other radios that they make that we want to start supporting and putting out there. But we're also bringing up other vendors. Normally we don't announce anything before we're there, but we saw some of our competition just kind of pre-announcing, so we thought we'd let you know. There's 5 other vendor radios that we're working on in parallel that we'll be able to support so that you can have your pick of which is your favorite for your application. There'll be some new indoors and some new outdoors. We have a person who's working on building a speed test, capacity, range test so that we can check each radio individually and kind of give you what our expected performance is from the unit. And then we'll do a couple different tests there, but we recommend feedback from the community on this. This is really good of how we should go about testing, real world radio, because it's one thing to have the emission pattern and range in the lab, and it's another thing to see it in the real world. So we currently are doing a test of open field at different heights, so you can get a feel for what the propagation is going to be. But then we also want to have a couple fixed locations in the world that are more likely to be a typical install, so you can see like what does the tree affect you and so forth. So we have a couple sites that we're thinking about that. But if individuals have a recommendation or feedback on how to do that more objectively, that would be awesome. So we'll do an announcement when each of those launches. But we're pretty excited about that. Same thing on the carriers. We're talking to a bunch of MNOs, but we prefer to announce that once it's ready to roll. But there should be some stuff coming too. Next, cost reduction on the flowers. Through our stems, we run our magma on the gateway locally. We've been able to massage that and do some pretty good improvements where we now think we can get radios to be deployed on their own with the gateways being in the cloud, and that makes the deployments a lot easier to be rolled out that way. So this is kind of an early preview, but I think that should be coming hopefully pretty soon. We're calling that greenhouse a version of the core as opposed to the stem version. Range and speed test, we talked about that a little bit. The other thing is the continuity bonus. I think we really want to keep emphasizing and driving density and usability. And so we'll be focusing a lot on getting areas to be densified where the core metric is, can you travel in this whole entire area and maintain a certain quality of service, no drops, and fewer disconnects. So that's high level everything that we're discussing today. I thought I would open it up for any questions that are there. I know there's a bunch of folks that were excited about the eSIM stuff. Oh, let me check the BeeHive chat. Let's see, we got a couple questions here. Scrolling down. All right, which one's today? Fine. Sorry, I'm catching up here.
Why have reward payments been delayed by 3 days?
Aha, that's a Shri question. Shri, you're on the spot. Why have reward payments been delayed for 3 days?
Yeah, so from my understanding, rewards payments have gone out every day. There was a delay on Saturday, but the back payments went out on Sunday as usual, within 24 hours, like we've said in the past. So right now, I'm not seeing any delays with the payments. They've been coming in pretty consistently. There are days where they slip up, but like I said, the back payments happen within 24 hours, and that's been working. So, yeah, not sure there's an issue there right now.
All right, so it's working as intended. All right, so I think we skipped one. Will the eSIM always require a primary source of data? I'm not quite sure I understand the question there. So the eSIMs to be downloaded onto the phone do require some connectivity. It could be over Wi-Fi, doesn't need to be on an existing network. But you do need a way to download that. If you have an existing MNO and you have Pollen running, you're able to drop you're able to download the eSIM that way, but you're also able to drop Pollen, and you're able to do hopefully soon some validations through the eSIM there. The physical SIM will not require any of that. So I don't know if that's answers your question or not. Next up, will the new app version run in the background for dropping pollen? No, not yet. It will in some future version, but right now it does not do that. There's been a lot of requests on that, and that's one of the features that's on.
And it's another discussion about Apple.
Yeah, I think the objective for us is we're setting up the whole pipeline for being able to have the eSIM to go out, have the app installed, have the NFTs, everything's working. We'll do a launch with that, which will have the map and we'll have the game. The game will come, and then the background collection will come, but the background collection requires additional approval, I think, from Apple, and so that will take longer. Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Oscar?
The app's looking great, so pretty excited to go out and you guys can use the map to navigate around, find some goodies.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of stuff that's going to come on that will be really exciting. From there. Okay. Recently, BBs have had worse than the reattach time, and sometimes power cycle. It require power cycle. Is this a known thing? And then it seems to be the same for honeybees when hitting new flowers. That's a you question.
So the honeybees, no, the bumblebees do have a lag. The bumblebees do have a lag for connecting to flowers. That's because the internal algorithm of the modem that we use has some internal logic that prevents it from being completely super smooth. Now with the honeybees, I think there has been an issue that we had a couple weeks ago with the core, one of our core instances going down, and we had to bring it back up. That's all the users that have been online have been transferred to this new core, but there are some that are still lagging behind that we're capturing every day. So there
Yeah.
are some instances where the honeybees won't attach because some of the flowers are still in the legacy in the broken orchestrator that we have to capture and convert.
Yeah, I'd say there's another thing too, which is like the flower to flower handoff is not good yet. That's something we're working on. That should be a lot better. And that will, I think that should fix the in dense areas. That should fix the bumblebee switching from flower to flower,
So then,
and it will fix the honeybees and hummingbirds attaching from switching to flowers as well. Because right now we have to like disconnect or fall off of one and then jump onto another one.
so one of the limitations of Magma Core, that's why we're starting the greenhouse project with the core, is that Magma does not handle those transitions as efficiently as we want. So that's why we're working on a new one where the transitions are seamless. And you'll see that trickle down to the bumblebee behavior and honeybee behavior over time. Other than that,
So other than that, Let's go to the next question. Okay, so known thing. Okay, cool. There's the number of hummingbirds that appear to have fallen off the Explorer. Okay, the number of hummingbirds appear to have fallen off the Explorer. Is there a way to get a hummingbird back online if it's not being recorded?
Yes, that's currently what I'm working on, trying to find out which of the hummingbirds are affected and why they're dropping off the network. An initial subset that I have tested is back to the issue we had last week. So basically, we're trying to recapture all those flowers that were affected, put into the new infrastructure, and they've been coming up online. But there has been a lag between the last subset of hummingbirds that we used to see online. I'm trying to dig and find where are those falling off the attachment list. So we're investigating that right now. So hopefully I got an update for you by tomorrow. Nice.
Yeah, sounds good. So next question is, are new radio suppliers being announced now or later blog posts? We're going to announce them later as a blog post. I was giving you a preview saying we're actively working on this. We're working with 5 different vendors, not 5 new radios. Some vendors only have 1 or 2 radios. Sorry, some vendors have 1, some already has 2. I don't think anybody has 3 yet. On that we're working on. And we're working with either 1 radio, 2 radios there. So more to come there. That's probably happening in the next month, I'd say. Like next 30 days, we'll have definitely an announcement with the first one there, and go from there. Okay. Are you guys able to give insights into future BB drops? We know it's exciting, and we know there was I would say a bad experience for people that purchased them and had to wait so long. Some of those mistakes were not. Some of those mistakes were on the supplier. So before we do another BB drop, we're going to have them fully ready, shipped, packaged, ready to go, and they can ship the next day that we've ordered. I can't tell you when that is, but that's going to be something that we're doing soon. We'll do our best to make sure we can ship that right away. Here, Christian, why don't you give us the update there? I can't read that fast enough.
We're thinking of doing for folks who bought an elderflower in the last couple drops and didn't have BBs available. We're thinking about giving some priority, 1 per customer access to make sure you guys had bumblebees and are able to fully validate your flowers. So as soon as we have line of sight to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when we have them ready, you say we're going to reserve a bunch for peeps that have a flower but don't have a BB, and that way they can catch up with everybody else, and then we'll do a real drop for everybody else. That's good. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, and that seems fair, and we should do that. But I want to first we get everybody's already ordered them out, then we get them all ready, and then we get the priority access, and then we'll go to everybody else. All right, going down. I noticed you can also pull with 3 flowers. That's a special thing, not a question. Okay. Will there be a new app avoid lock screen? Will the new app avoid lock screen?
The app has the setting set up to avoid lock screen, but there's an additional setting within your phone that you can turn on so it doesn't actually turn off. Because power savings from Apple still dim the screen. If basically the phone detects if you're facing the screen and it'll dim it, even though the option is turned on in the app. So there's an additional setting. I think I'll post it on Discord that you can go in so it doesn't turn off, even if your face is not pointing to your phone. But it's something.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good workaround,
Yeah.
but we still should figure out. There's no way for us to do that natively.
For now, I haven't found a way. The app has the bit set to not go to sleep, but then with the phone, it's your face not pointing at it, it overrides that setting and then starts to dim it and then turns it off. So there's an additional setting you turn off that function. So it doesn't.
All right. We could use help there if anybody has an insight that could be helpful to do. Related to the app, and this is not a question, but as we get the new Explorer app, it's in Rails. We should be able to get an Android app up soon thereafter, which would be Exciting. Okay, next one is BBs randomly crash. Reset can take 5+ minutes to come up. Is there a known issue?
The reason for the BBs will crash could be a power issue. That's the only thing I've seen from.
At least consistently. Maybe there's a special thing with
Yeah.
this guy's device, but
Yeah.
um,
So usually when the BB crashes and reboots by itself, it's usually related to a power issue that I've seen in my testing. I haven't seen anything related to software, so that user can send their BB name to support. I will check it out. I think it was likely a power issue. So you will constantly reset if you don't have the right power supply or something's failing in turn.
okay, so there'll be something they can test themselves to see if they can trigger it on a better power supply, and then it could be hardware. Okay. Awesome. If you have an HB, make that network priority and see if it. Oh, okay, it doesn't. Announcement of an announcement. Yep, absolutely. That's the way to do it. Is there anything else? Okay, we got some help on this. Any update on remote management tools? Yes, this is a good. Okay, as we scale up, this is becoming a bigger point. Having to software reboot several times stems to stop working with it. Yeah, no, that's like my nightmare that I have recurring every other day. So Jay Hella, I agree with you on that. We are totally up for that. You're pointing me. This is a different topic. You're not talking about this. The point we have related. Could be related. Setting up grants program soon. How does that relate to this? The STEM rebooting and crashing.
Oh, because I don't have the API.
I was like, give me a
No,
thought.
I'm gonna have the API open. Also, basically open up so you guys can build your own matches if you wanted to, but we're gonna try to ourselves instead of.
The API call is not going to let you
They
diagnose the
will
STEM.
give you access to
Diagnostics.
diagnostic data. That's part of the load, but it's just right now it's read only, so they won't be able to necessarily fix anything on their own, but they'll have more visibility into some of the downtime that they're experiencing.
Yeah, no, but
So-
I took the question not as like, hey, I want to know when my flower is down. I think they're like, hey, why is it down so much, and why is it when it reboots needs to get the file system check running?
That's a hardware issue. That's a
Sure, and that's part of why we're going from STEM to greenhouse and moving the AGWs into the cloud to not have that problem.
Well, okay, so in short, we will have diagnostics dashboards. That's definitely high priority on the roadmap, and the API is kind of the critical unlock for that.
But it's a visibility thing. I just want to make
It's
sure we're clear on that because
visibility.
it's not like
We can scope out a little bit more than visibility at this time, but I think, yeah, to have you all having to email us to ask what's going on is not ideal. So we're looking to give you the tools to catch your own fish, so to speak.
sounds good. I like it. Okay, so grants program should be coming soon. I think Christian has the action item on that to see it. We spoke with some great folks from the community. They're going to help us with that. We have I think, follow-up call with them soon to hopefully understand how to do that correctly. More to be announced then. Just want to come back to, okay, sorry. The next part is continue to work on the foundation. Now, can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think we gave it a heads up last time around, but since then we've started the process of formally establishing the foundation as it was laid out in the white paper. As part of that, we'll be starting to stand up the DAO mechanics to get that infrastructure in place, and then we'll start rolling out, as appropriate, different pieces of governance. Probably the first one would be oriented around the pips and putting some more structure on that, but we haven't completely finalized that. But it is exciting news, hopefully for everybody, that the foundation is being set up. We're starting to build the DAO out.
Cool. We had a question from Xenophon that is very appropriate. This is follow up on the BB question. I think you want to know when the BB drops will be available for those that have elderflowers but don't have a BB matching. Is it 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks? It's definitely less than a month. I don't know if it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but it's as soon. So we have a batch of 2,000 BBs that are being qualified right now. We have 250 that have passed all the tests. Those are the ones that we're doing. The next 100 have been reserved for some elderflower folks, and then so as soon as those are ready, we'll post on that. So I would say let's revisit this discussion at the next community meeting, and I'll have a date for you then. I would say, if not sooner, having them be available or not. That makes a lot of sense. Is there any formal anti-gaming rules? That's a great question. If Shree's still on, I think we want to talk about that. I just want to make sure I'm doing everything correctly and don't get in trouble.
Yeah, so there are some anti-gaming rules. I think we've announced them through blog posts, and we have most of them written in the Git book, but I think that needs an update. So that is an action item that we have, is to update the Git book with the latest rules. But the main rules that you want to follow that we have are anti-swarming, which is you don't want to operate your bumblebees in close proximity to each other at the same time, because that will knock down your rewards. There is the hex limits.
Sure,
So,
but that's, knock down the rewards, but that won't get you banned.
correct. That won't get you banned. Yes.
Yeah.
There are the hex limits. So right now, based on what flower you're validating, you can only validate a maximum number of hexes per flower, and that limit applies per day. So for every day, you can only get 20 for the buttercups, 10 for the elderflowers, 7 for the dandelions, 7 for the camellias. And then on top of that, there are, am I missing any of the main anti-gaming rules? I think that's,
I would say it's in the white paper
Yeah.
in there, but that was a good recap. The other recap mainly is like what will get you banned is moving your flower when it's turned on to try to like spread the ability of the coverage is there. Spoofing the GPS on your honeybee or bumblebee, or flower app. And I think those are the two. Basically, it's active cheating. If you're doing something inadvertently that's not this ordinary behavior, like, oh, I forgot my thing, and I did this. I had 4 bumblebees on at the same time in my trunk, and I didn't know. Not a big deal. We're just gonna connect that automatically. If your bumblebee is, being radiated by a GPS spoofer, that's not something that would randomly happen. And so that's one of the things that we would take action to.
I mean, I would say generally the way we think about it, and the community should think about it, is if you're doing something that is designed to only juice your rewards without providing any value to the community and building a useful mobile network, probably going to fall under the rubric of gaming, and depending how severe it is,
In fact, that should be the definition of gaming, actually. It shouldn't be like this specific action. It should be this category of stuff. But I think Heated Lime got what we were talking about here. So
Yeah, and I will also say that we have the anti-gaming system that's coming into place as Anthony described. So like we're creating a feedback mechanism for the community to start understanding and analyzing the data so that they know exactly who's gaming and or why they would be gaming. So that's in the works.
we have 3 live questions. It's the first time we're going to go live seconds. All right. Colton, come on up.
Can you hear me? Something that I've been pushing the past couple of weeks, and I wanted to get you guys' take on, is this notion that with the hex limits in place, it's my opinion that not miners are operating the same sort of structure where a dandelion gets put on a balcony and it can achieve 7 hexes, but the buttercups that are getting
Right?
Yeah, Golden, can you just get a little closer to your microphone? You're fading out a little bit. I think
Okay.
you're saying the
Yeah.
hex rewards per flower is wrong.
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm getting at is this idea that the buttercup, not only just like the cost per pick, which is something I've brought up recently, but this idea that if you
Hey, I think you're fading it. Shree, can you hear him okay or no?
No, I still can't hear him. He's fading in and out.
All right, I'm gonna just come on back when you have better microphone setup. But I think you were saying something about the cost per pick should be kind of uniform for all the actors to try to match that. So if you have an expensive flower that has, let's say it's 4x the price, but 2x the number of picks that it can earn, versus a cheap one that's only 1x the price and 1x the pick, you're better off buying 4 of the cheap ones rather than 1 of the big ones. And I think that's a fair point, and we need to understand how to build the best network. We love this is kind of being gamified a little bit in the positive sense of the term, but ultimately what we need to do is we're tracking actively the usage and the coverage, and we want to make this a real network. So we want to make sure that the price of the pick reward matches the best utility to the network they were building up. All right, ML Lab, you're back, or you're up. Colton, come back whenever you're, if you can get the microphone fixed. ML, you're up.
Hi, hello. Hello again. I was wondering about, I guess, a couple things here that I heard earlier. One of them is that greenhouse magma edition. I was wondering if that's something that's like if it's rolling out soon and if that's intended to be like transparent. I believe that's going to be a fork, right, of the magma core. And I'm just kind
Yeah,
of
so we're still in, this is like, we share early stuff on the community meetings here. And so this is kind of a preview, I would say. We don't have a ton of details to talk about it, but the concept here is we've been looking at what the pain points that people have been complaining about and we've been having internally. And for us, having a gateway per flower is kind of an annoyance. We could do a couple flowers per that, but we thought that the best part would be the radios should just connect to the network, and then all of the stuff should be happening in the background. And so, the easiest way for you to think about this is, we're spinning up a way to have the AGWs live in the cloud and have the radios connect up to them, and provide service that way. That way, they could potentially be larger numbers of radios per AGWs. You don't have to maintain them. There's just a bunch of other niceties that come through that.
okay. I got it. Yeah, I could. This is going to be sort of like the AGWs become like clients, right? And they just kind of connect to like some hosted like virtual machine instance of a AGW, like the greenhouse magma AGW, I guess you could call it, and then
We're
it's
trying, we want to have a different name for it just so it's clear that it's something different. The advantage of doing the HEW is to be able to do a local breakout. We think that's not great for privacy for the hosts and not great privacy for the users. And so we set up the IEPS to tunnel all the traffic back. And
Okay.
so now we're kind of flipping that by having the radios tunnel the traffic all the way back to the gateways, which are in the cloud, and you can exit there. We'll still make the version available to have the the magma core run, as part of the stem.
like locally. Yeah.
Yeah, so let me say that better. So we'll still continue to have the stem to be able to have the traffic hosted locally there. There's some application where that makes sense. We think for the majority of applications, people want to hit the internet, and so having fewer drops and less complicated setups is better. It's also going to make, I think, the deployments harder for outdoor. Even though we've done a decent job at weatherproofing and providing boxes for buttercups, to be able to provide shielding from the elements. Our ultimate goal is to have this be easy to install and very reliable. And for that, the gateways that we're getting, and we've sourced a couple different ones. We find are not as robust as the radios themselves, and so we think that removing them from the equation actually makes sense in that specific setup.
Okay, yeah, I was mainly interested in maybe the scaling attribute of having this kind of cloud hosted.
It's faster to scale too. We don't have to. We only need to source one type of hardware, and that's the radio piece. The gateways now can be scaled virtually online.
Okay, interesting. And okay, so I got a couple more questions.
Oh, and the cost also goes down by the cost of the gateway, basically. So it should be a lot cleaner.
Nice, yeah, sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
Okay, and I heard something about earlier about the needing like a kind of swap or something of the earlier editions of bumblebees, and or is it all bumblebees, or I
Yeah.
didn't quite hear that part. So
So some of the earlier bumblebees have a sim that can't be updated remotely. And so for those users, we have a list of them and we know which ones they are. We'll publish a list of like, these are the bumblebees. Let us know where you want us to send you a physical sim, and we'll send you a physical sim to swap out. That's probably a month plus out. It's not urgent right now, but it's something that we'll want to have all the bumblebees have a software upgradable sim so that we can walk around and attach the network better.
okay, cool. And I guess the only other point I had was in regards to the I think you were saying there'd be a anti-gaming committee, and then you mentioned something in regards to like an ML um like mechanism, or related to the feedback mechanism. So I was kind of curious if that's going to be transparent and kind of something that the community could work on,
Yeah, we
or
want the grants program to be transparent, and we want definitely the anti-gaming cheater to be community driven and super transparent. So the ML piece is we want to be able to detect bogus attaches, bad GPS spoofing, kind of live and automatically. Right now, we're having a person look at every single one of the logs and determine manually, like, does this the suspect, or does this look kosher? And in building all this training data, we'll be able to train a model that will run there, and you'll get a score for how good we think that specific log is, or how genuine it is. And it's based on that log that we would then want to automatically flag, suspect behavior, and then have that behavior then be given to this community, and that obviously, in this committee, which would be, all committee members, all committee, all committee members should be from the community. Some of the Pollen folks would be involved in kind of checking the things before it goes out, but that's would be posted on Discord and be open for folks to give inputs. We haven't exactly figured out the right way to do that. We think maybe to be on the committee, you would like stake the PCN to be able to have a say in it. But we're trying to, keep going more and more towards the decentralization piece, because we know that that's the proper, way of the future for us here. And we want to figure out ways to take the smallest, easiest steps first, versus conversion into full DAO. So the other thing we didn't talk about, but we need to put a roadmap forward of how we go from where we are today to what the ultimate, DAO maintained structure looks like, and making sure that the votes is happening correctly. So this is complicated, but I think that the anti-cheating committee, it would be very easy to, what would be a clean first step in that direction. So there's a roadmap missing, and there's a how do we get the community involved in the anti-gaming?
nice, very cool. And actually, this brings up one more point. In regards to that, because you mentioned staking, and it made me think about that whole kind of transaction system that was in the previous Beehives. That was a topic back then. In regards to like how to withdraw, instead of the current process of many transactions, kind of parallel in a parallel or sequential fashion.
Yeah, you're talking about how do we do fewer transactions and you can accumulate your PCN, and then when you want to cash out, you can withdraw. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, and I was wondering if there's any update on that. Maybe everything's fine.
So your update, Sri. I don't think we've made any progress on that, Sri.
Yeah, no, we haven't made any progress on that yet. We are going to switch very soon to doing one payment per wallet per day. We haven't made that switch either, but I think that switch will be made much sooner. But in terms of the kind of account management type thing where you have a running balance that you can withdraw from, that's not something we've worked on yet, but it's something that we're considering in the future.
Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Oh, side note. So somebody's trying to hit us up for money for security vulnerabilities potentially. So, we're working on that. But I just thought I'd casually mention that.
It appeared to be a failed DDoS attack, but
We'll be back. Keep you live updated. Thank you. All right, Steve. Good work.
Hey, Anthony, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Hey, I want to bring up a topic, have a little discussion about what I perceive as kind of a scalability challenge for this network. And that is a need that to be productive, these things have to have human intervention on a daily basis. And it's kind of unique in decentralized wireless. Maybe that's kind of what happens in CBRS. But to give some context here, to draw a comparison to Helium, over I think 50% of all the nodes on the network live under wallets with like 10 or more units. And so you see the emergence of these sort of host networks, people who have, they create deals and they have lots of connections and they got lots of locations. And, we're finding, for every like 5 flowers you put up, you need like a one human who's going to spend a few hours a day making sure these things are productive. So I wonder if you have put any thought into that about maybe lowering or creating some alternatives to prevent such constant human intervention.
Yeah. So we don't want to build a network that's like. It reminds me of a Rick and Morty episode, where there's a microverse in your battery that generates power, and there's all these little microorganisms that are like doing work and generating power. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but you should check it out. It's amazing. The objective here is we want to make, a better network. Not we want to make work for lots of people to go out and do that. So I think what you're saying is you're not liking how the devices require manual interventions, and I'm assuming this is kind of like an individual moving around a bumblebee to validate the network.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's not because if it's like the flower needs to be like power cycle and reset, whatever, that's definitely gotta get fixed. We're super open to better ways to know that the flower is online and working. We came up with the concept of the bumblebee super early on. It was from kind of like one of our robot trucks that was like driving around a network and being like, oh, I know it works here, but it doesn't work over there. And then we could see how the network needs to expand. So we decided to like bottle that up into one to kind of know like, well, where are you getting good connectivity and where you're not. I'd hate for it to turn into like a full-on job or job category. There's like BB walkers or BB drivers. My view is like the bumblebees should sit in taxis or Uber drivers or DoorDash people that are just going about their day and doing that, and you would like piggyback on that motion organically. If you're having a person for every 5 flowers to go out and validate a network, we're definitely doing something wrong. So I'm with you on that, and I'm super open to ideas on how we make that better. I don't like the idea that we just pay for the flower being online, because to me that's if we're giving out picks for just being connected, there's no way to know and have people get the incentive to properly tune their radio and put it in a good location to make it really good. Ultimately, the money from the network will come from users and be about the data that they're paying for, right? That's the only reason why this network works, and that's the only reason why this concept, DY in general, I think is going to happen, is that there's more demand for the data than it costs to decentralize or to centralize put up the network. If it wasn't the case, then the phone companies wouldn't exist today. Does that make sense? I mean, like, let's talk more.
Totally agree. I mean, the network has to function and move bits. Ultimately, that's where the revenue is going to be derived from. I'm just mainly thinking in terms of, between now and then, maybe the Uber driver scenario sort of works in a place like San Francisco or maybe Oakland, but it seems like we're pretty far away from that still. And so I think there's maybe two primary knobs to turn. One is the densification incentives, which actually I think inadvertently like using bumblebees at all is a densification incentive kind of inadvertently.
Yeah, I guess you're right, because you have to have a person there. You can only validate, whatever X amount of flowers per day versus being. Yeah,
Right.
that makes sense. All right.
And then another one, just spitballing, is like some sort of reward. You plays out over several days. So, day one you get 100% if you have a BB walking. Day two you get like 50% of day one's rewards. Day three it's down to 20%. And day four. So then your cadence, you're not unproductive for 4 days.
Oh, I see.
You
Let
you
me make sure I understand what you're saying. So, because that's a pretty good idea. So you're saying if you got validated on the first day, you get full credit. If you didn't revalidate the second day, you kind of like decay the amount of credit that you would get, even though you
Right.
didn't get revalidated, and so forth. And so that means you can be like, okay, if I can go from 100% to 90 to 80, like, cool, I'll go validate all my stuff, and then maybe I skip a couple of days because it's not economically feasible for doing that. Okay, that's an interesting idea. The other interesting idea I just saw in the chat is like honeybees validating in the background app. I think that's important. I should mention one thing. Maybe people are not aware of this, but the honeybees, whether the app is open or not,
We know that.
are validating. So there's if the honeybee eSIM is installed and you're moving about the day, whatever, randomly, and you see a flower and you attach, it's the attached accounts, not the attached plus the app being open. The app being open is solely for the game which is coming, and solely for the pollen drops to be able to do that. We will have a validation through the Honeybee app, which may or may not need to have the app open as well. But I hear you. I want this network to generate the rewards because it exists, and not because it's like we're employing 5,000 people to like go around and do it. Ultimately, this should be coming from the end users, and the densification is to me a big unlock, because you can do handoffs from one side to the next, so the reattach issue is gone. You're you have a network that you can use so that it's more useful to the folks there. I don't know. I don't have a solution for you today, but I like that you're bringing this up, and I like that we're kind of thinking about how to get there.
Yeah, I think I'll write some ideas on paper, just develop them a little further.
Yeah, no, we're super open to figuring out how to be better here. This is really an important aspect for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. See who else wanted to come up. Colton is back. Let's give it a shot. Thanks, Steve.
Is this
Somewhat muffled, but let's try it.
okay? Yeah. So I mean, the base case, what I was trying to say is, to get down to the root of it is, I could buy 3 dandelions right now, and I could cover 7 hexes each for my hex cap fairly easily, and get 21 hexes, and that would cost me less than buying 1 buttercup that could max out at 20 hexes. And then what I've found just practically from actually going out and deploying these is that, with something that we're really excited about is, like, if you want to get max coverage on a buttercup and you really want to make it as useful as possible, you kind of need to have height and a good location, and these things that are just not as necessary for dandelions and elderflowers somewhat. And so, aside from just the base case of cost per hex, then there is this other idea of like the people who are deploying buttercups and really maximizing the network are probably paying additional costs somewhat for maybe renting a lease space or an insurance policy, things like that.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't. I think we do need to look at the dollars per pix earning potential, and then normalize that back to what we think is the best value for the network. Because it could be that you're getting 7 hexes on your dandelion, and that's potentially too large, because that's like a lot of coverage. And so I think what we haven't done yet, but we talked about this internally, is that just because you cover a hex right now, great, you get full credit, but there might be different qualities of hex coverages. And so, if you have a 2000 millisecond ping time, which I think is the threshold now, that's not a great network. That's the network, and you can get an attachment and connectivity. But if we had that connectivity all around the whole world, people would be like, "Wow, this network sucks." And so we need to do better than that. And I think that means that we might grade the attaches and give them a quality score. And I think that's where your 7 hexes would come down. Potentially, an effect. You can get coverage in 7, but they're not like good attaches or good quality. You want to talk about that because you had a more insight on that earlier. We're talking about the quality of the fix per hex being not necessarily full credit, meaning if you have a high ping time, low data upload speed, you might get less than 1 full validation pick per that hex coverage. And so that way, if you have a dandelion that covers 7, maybe it's only like 2.5 effective picks or 2.5 effective hexes, which would lead to a smaller number of picks compared to a buttercup that might give you 15 good hexes and then 5 that are questionable because of the power limit.
So then that ties back into what you mentioned earlier, that we're doing testing with different antennas and different setups to see how is the real quality of the signal and download speed. And eventually we can formulate from there some sort of metric to score the quality of your connection within the hex.
Yeah. We're not doing it now to keep it simple and like easy to connect, but like the objective is to have, like, we want to reward
The right metrics.
the right metric, exactly. What's the quality of the network? We came up with the hex as the first because that was clear. We have a fixed threshold. Those might need to be variable thresholds, and they might need to be different based on, the connectivity, the continuity of the coverage is another one that potentially goes into that. I'll tip a hand a little bit of this, but we thought of having like an ELO score per hex based on the number of traffic and the quality of the speed, to be able to have the scaling factor go up or down based on the quality of the coverage that you're providing there. And then the same thing, you have an ELO score per bumblebee to say, hey, this guy's not quite a cheater, but his connectivity is not as good as it's more questionable. It's like on a grayscale. So we haven't done this. This was just like we're purely like brainstorming about this, but the objective is really like what's the right metric to make sure the network is rewarding the right what's the right way to reward the right metrics for the quality of service that we're giving there. So
Yeah.
So the bumblebees collect all that background information. We have all the data, but we do need to play with that data and see if we can find a way to, I guess, fairly reward people for the coverage they provide.
Yeah.
And that also ties into like how you traverse the world. Do we make more granular hexes? And how do we display that data to you so you can make more informed decisions? So I think the first step will be maybe opening up that data to the API and hopefully open up another map view where you can actually show like a heat map of what you're actually covering. So you can optimize for that, and hopefully we can tie and shape the rewards based on the quality of service.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great, and that's good for the longevity of the network. And I assume, these things are going to take a while. I guess my question to add on to that is, what is the short-term fix? Because, I can speak for myself. I'm sure others apply. I want to keep hardware, and I want to keep deploying hardware.
You're cutting out. Sorry.
Okay, any better?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I want to keep deploying hardware. I'm sure other people have the similar situation where it's you look at this just objectively, and it's like, your gut tells you that a buttercup is going to be the better option for the long term, but you can't really justify it right now versus the fact that you can get three dandies and get better coverage. And so I'm just kind of wondering, like, is there a short term solution to this?
I think the continuity bonus might have a little bit of the rewards there, but not fully.
Yeah, I think we haven't thought of the issue that you brought up. It's really good. I'd say let's understand. So I think we understand your concern now, which is that the rewards are not, like you're saying, that the cost to get a flower doesn't match up with the rewards to the same level that you expected that value to the network is, and there's a disconnect there. Like three dandies are not as good as one buttercup, but the buttercup costs more, and the dandies can earn more. And so there's a problem with that math, and so we need to like go back and understand how to address that. We potentially could shake that up when there's more radios that come in and we have um, the result of the test. And that could be like fixing the buttercups or fixing, or nerfing a little bit the dandies. Okay.
Okay.
Roads.
Yeah.
I think we have your spirit. I don't know. I don't think we have an answer for you now. It's a valid point, and we need to think through that. I haven't forgotten about the questions in written form, but we're gonna clear out roads, and I think we lost Williams, who had a question. If you want to come back, let us know. Oh, Rose bounced as well.
I have one final thing, and that's just as I've been thinking about this, and we've been discussing it in the PIP, the PIP area of the chat, and it's brought up the thought of, okay, if I write a PIP right now, what is the process looking like currently for that in the voting structure versus you guys are able to go and say, okay, this is fix it right now. Like, is it worth at this point in time? Is that
You're falling underwater again.
okay? I'm just wondering if it's worth writing pips right now.
I mean, I think it is in a way to clarify the idea and get the process exercised. We've given some tokens out, but clearly there's more coming out. I think that the BeeHive is a good way to like kind of hash out what's a good idea to write a pip on. If obviously we'll vote on it, and we have a large stake in that, but we'll be direct with you about our feedback, verbally, and it might be good to have a simple pip to go through just so we can, work out that exercises through that. So I wouldn't write a super complicated one, but if you had like one that was addressing a key need that we have now, then that would be good. I think a pip, we'd welcome a pip on the how do we do a cheating community committee to address that. And then I think the topic you're bringing up here of like how do we change the correct. Yeah. All right. I don't want to take super long, so I'm gonna. You have anything else? Oh, you're out. Okay. Rose. You're on mute. Rose,
Hello.
you're back. Hello.
Hey, hello everybody. Hey, Anthony, thanks so much. Hey, you mentioned a roadmap earlier, and I was just curious, given the enthusiasm and excitement that we all have getting these hotspots up and on the network. Can you be more granular on when you're going to share a roadmap with us so we have a sense of kind of milestones that we're going to be contributing to helping Pollen meet? And I think that would shape a lot of economic decisions that we're trying to make on our side in terms of ordering hotspots and the timing of it and all that good stuff. So I really appreciate all the clarity you brought today, and I just would love to know if you could be a little more specific on when we might see a roadmap. Thank you.
It's definitely 2022. I don't think I don't think it's June. It could be July. I don't want to make a commitment because we want to work out the process for doing that well. And it's the same kind of folks that we're talking to about the grants programs that we want to get community feedback in terms of what the roadmap should look like. But we hear you that we need one just so you can understand our thinking. I tend to want to maximize the chances that we over deliver and under promise, and the roadmap is kind of the opposite of that. But I know it gets people excited. So I don't want to give you a date, but I'll say like we'll take your input and then we'll do our best to have something out in the next 30 days or so.
That would be amazing. I think in this current economic environment, more clarity, and I guess another way of saying it is, I think some of the ways that things can be done in a bear market are different than they were in a bull market. So the next 30 days would be awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean we're well funded and we're committed to exercise all of our resources to making this happen, and helping us know that the roadmaps helps you see clarity as to what we're doing is important. We've always and we've had this conversation before. Like I'm super focused on getting users and getting coverage so that they can be useful. I'm less interested in like one flower every 200 miles, and I'm more excited about clusters of places where there can become a real usage there. I think Bay Area is one, LA is looking good, Baltimore is another, New York. There's a couple other spots like that have kind of reaching critical mass, so we want to encourage that happening. I mean, I know it's not part of your roadmap question, but that's just my thinking is like, it's kind of not, it's like developers. This is like users, paid data traffic. And how do we get there? So
Are you going to reenact the famous Balmer chant, Anthony? Is that what I'm hearing?
that's kind of what that was my weak half-ass attempt at doing that. But we can do one. We should do a pollen meetup. We'll do a little mini pollen con, and then I'll go and give you my flavor of that.
But just riffing on that for a second, Anthony, is there any version where you say, XYZ, I'm making this up, so a college, a business, or somebody says specifically, Anthony, we really want to have this pollen network up?
Locations like that we're going out. I don't want to like pre-share them here because otherwise like people will freak out and like want to go there first. So
what would be the downside of that? Just out of curiosity.
Unintended consequences. I don't know what that is. I think we need to think through because like we're like, hey, we're going to Puerto Rico, and now everybody's like, oh shit, we gotta launch Puerto Rico, and then we're like, psych guys, sorry, it's gonna be Kona, and then everybody goes to Kona, and then we're like, actually we decided it's gonna be Sacramento, right? And then like now people just get upset because they're like, well, which one was it? You let us on, and so I don't want to let people down, and I want to be super focused at giving the best possible. Like I don't like over promising and getting people to go in their own direction. And so that's why I don't want to tell you what it is.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
This is what we're doing. You can know that we're going to actually do that and execute on it.
Totally. Thank you.
No, of course. And I appreciate you pushing on that because I think that's really helpful to know what's going on here. Snap, I lost my thing.
What'd you do?
I lost my questions. My channel. Where did we go?
We're actually, we're 10 minutes over, just FYI.
Yeah, but I always go over because I like to close stuff out. So, where's stuff?
Should be at the top, and then it'll.
I'm completely computer illiterate. It's amazing. I've turned 100 years old. There was like a channel I had open.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Community. Yeah, you can jump down. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. It's amazing. You guys are all doomed. I can't even use Discord properly. All right. Perhaps a longer validation time period. That's interesting. We'll think about that as a way. Either decade over day per day, like Steve was asking, or Chris is saying. Maybe it's not a per day thing, especially if we have uptime requirements. Okay. How do we convince Ubers folks and Lyft folks to drive? Yeah, we should definitely have an easy way to. That's like a brochure. We need like a little mini like physical brochure. We're gonna give that to Victoria to create. When I go on vacation, the earnings are up to 0. Yeah, that's the same problem above. We need to fix that. Okay. Would you say that's similar structure to like a reverse sliding scale with multi-day streak rewards, just scaling just described? Reverse sliding scale. I feel it's more like an exponential decay, where if you validate it once, it still will continue to validate, even if you didn't validate, but at a lower rate. We have to think about that. That could be work.
It decays over days and depending on your uptime.
Yeah, if you don't have a good location, don't get a buttercup. That's hard. Yeah, I think that's good advice.
Would a honeybee eventually be able to validate a hex? Given shortage of BBs, it would help.
Yeah, we're working on that. That's the key thing. There's a couple of technical hooplas that has to go to make that the case, but we're close on that. Part of that was be part of the GSMA, association, everything. What's next?
Is Kevin O'Leary backing Pollen?
But they call him Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. I mean, you can die. That's a you question.
Yeah, no, he's not an investor. We welcome if he was. If anybody has connectivity to him, we'd love to talk more about Pollen.
How can we discourage hardware flipping? Yeah, I mean, like, hey, somebody's like, oh, I bought a flower. I don't want it anymore. I want to switch. I mean,
In some ways, it's a healthy thing.
yeah, I think that I don't want to put any restrictions. To me, like, I want to be enabling Pollen. Like, Pollen needs to be the best network out there. If it's not, then there's no reason to hold it back. It's kind of like, I feel this is like a Eastern Europe travel restrictions. That's not good. You don't want to hold your people back. You want to make the best environment for them to be in. And so I think the best way to prevent hardware flipping is to have the best rewards for people and best network that attract the best rewards. Someone posted that on the logo of FIL. Ooh, what's going on? Oh, the hardware. That's the Kevin O'Leary guy. Yeah. Do you guys want outreach ambassadors? Yeah, this is a great idea. We definitely need to do that. We need to be able to do, now that we've rolled out US nationwide, I think we want to go market by market and have like, how do we build this market up and go in and like really drive awareness, especially on the user side. But for that, we want to have some metric of connectivity. So the way, I don't have firsthand knowledge on this at Uber and Lyft, but I know that overall their playbook was get the drivers, get to have a party, bring everybody in, get them connected up to critical mass, and then launch the app and then have the riders come in. And for us, the subscribers is the riders and the providers are the drivers. And so we need to kind of light up an area that's usable-ish and then get the subscribers in to go with that. So that's really important way to do that. If you have like one flower in Austin, Texas, it's not going to do a lot of good. You need to have decent coverage. But there's no real reason why not to do that in other places. So like San Diego, Orange County, that'd be awesome to do that. We should definitely follow up, a direct chat with you. The BBs seem like an intermediary subscriber where you're not depending on it for data access. You're using it for rewards, and that's the whole reason why this decentralized crypto thing for DY works, is that you provide a gap to overcome the network effects to be able to launch a new network. Okay, I don't think there's any other questions. All right, with that, thank you, everyone. We should have a ending joke or some sort of ending thing, but we'll think about it. Okay, anything else? Thanks for sticking 20 minutes over, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great 2 weeks, and we'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
I